Amid the windswept moors and misty churchyards of East Anglia, a spectral figure has prowled for centuries. Black Shuck, the ghostly black dog of British folklore, is a harbinger of death and mystery. But is this phantom hound merely a myth, or does its legend conceal a darker truth? What is Black Shuck? Black Shuck, a spectral black dog with blazing red or green eyes, is one of Britain's most enduring legends. Tales of this phantom hound have circulated for centuries, particularly in the rural and coastal areas of East Anglia, where the creature is said to haunt graveyards, lonely roads, and desolate moors. Often described as an omen of death, Black Shuck's appearance is enough to strike fear into even the bravest soul. According to folklore, an encounter with Black Shuck portends disaster, illness, or even death, often within a year. Its glowing eyes, massive size, and silent movement create an unnerving presence, leading many to believe it is a harbinger of doom. However, some stories portray the hound as a guardian spirit, protecting travelers from harm during their darkest hours. The legend of Black Shuck likely originates from a combination of Norse mythology and local superstition, brought to Britain by Scandinavian settlers. Its name derives from the Old English word skukka, meaning devil or demon. Over time, Black Shuck has become a symbol of the eerie and unexplained, a bridge between the living world and the supernatural. Historical encounters. The Bungay Church Incident, 1577. One of the most famous accounts of Black Shuck occurred on August 4, 1577, in the small town of Bungay, Suffolk. During a violent storm, parishioners had gathered at St. Mary's Church for a service. According to local records and the writings of Abraham Fleming, a massive black dog burst into the church with thunderous force. Witnesses described how the beast tore through the congregation, leaving 2 men dead and others injured before disappearing as quickly as it had appeared. Fleming's account, published in his book A Strange and Terrible Wonder, describes the event in vivid detail. This black dog, or the devil in such a likeness, running all along down the body of the church with great swiftness and incredible haste, among the people, in a visible form and shape, passed between 2 persons, as they were kneeling upon their knees, and wrung the necks of them both at one instant. The scorch marks said to have been left by the beast's claws on the church door can still be seen today, preserved as a grim reminder of that fateful day. The Bungay Church incident solidified Black Shuck's reputation as a harbinger of death and destruction. The Blakeney Marshes Incident, 1665. In the summer of 1665, the small coastal village of Blakeney in Norfolk was gripped by fear after a series of strange sightings on the nearby marshes. Villagers spoke of a massive black dog with glowing eyes that roamed the foggy wetlands at night. The creature's eerie howls echoed through the village, causing livestock to panic and some residents to fall ill shortly after claiming to have seen the beast. One of the most well-documented encounters involved a fisherman named Thomas Everard. According to a local pamphlet preserved in the Norwich Castle Museum, Thomas was returning from a late-night fishing trip when he saw the spectral hound standing at the edge of the marsh, staring at him with fiery red eyes. The creature was described as the size of a calf, with fur so dark it seemed to absorb the moonlight. Terrified, Thomas tried to flee but reportedly collapsed on the spot. When he awoke hours later, the hound was gone, but his hair had turned stark white from fright. Thomas returned to the village, and within days, he fell gravely ill and passed away, fueling rumors that Black Shuck had cursed him. The incident was recorded by a traveling clergyman who chronicled strange occurrences in the region. The pamphlet, titled A Terrible Apparition on the Blakeney Marshes, remains a chilling testament to the enduring legend of Black Shuck. The Cromer Lighthouse Tragedy, 1803. In 1803, a tragic event near the Cromer Lighthouse in Norfolk was attributed to Black Shuck. Lighthouse keeper Edward Grayson, a diligent man known for his dedication to maintaining the beacon, lived alone in the remote station perched atop the cliff. One stormy autumn night, Edward was discovered dead at the base of the cliffs, his body marked by deep gashes that local villagers believed were caused by the phantom hound. According to a report from the Norfolk Chronicles, dated November 1803, Edward had written in his journal about seeing a great black beast with eyes like fire prowling near the lighthouse several nights before his death. He described how the creature would appear during the fiercest storms, watching him from the edge of the cliffs. On the night of his death, villagers reported hearing the eerie howling of a dog echoing through the storm. When Edward's body was found, his journal lay open on his desk, the last entry reading, "It watches me still. I fear it comes for me tonight." The incident left the community shaken, and sailors passing the Cromer Cliffs began leaving offerings of salt and bread at the lighthouse, hoping to appease the spectral hound. To this day, locals claim to see a black shape moving along the cliffs during storms, a haunting reminder of Black Shuck's presence. The Blythburgh Church Massacre, 1577. On the same stormy day as the infamous Bungay incident, another chilling event unfolded just 12 miles away in the village of Blythburgh. At Holy Trinity Church, parishioners were gathered for Sunday service when a deafening clap of thunder shook the building. Moments later, a massive black dog, described as the size of a horse, burst through the church doors. Witnesses claimed the beast moved with supernatural speed, leaving scorch marks on the stone floor where its paws landed. The congregation panicked as the hound darted between pews, killing 2 men and a young boy in its path. Survivors later recounted the terrifying sight of the creature's glowing red eyes and the oppressive heat that seemed to radiate from its body. The event was chronicled in local records and gained the attention of Abraham Fleming, who wrote in A Strange and Terrible Wonder that the beast left claw marks on the church door as it exited. These marks, known locally as the Devil's Fingerprints, can still be seen on the wooden door of Holy Trinity Church today, a lasting reminder of that fateful day. Blythburgh residents came to believe that the storm and the hound's appearance were divine punishment for the sins of the villagers. The story of Black Shuck's rampage became a central part of local lore, passed down through generations as both a warning and a testament to the power of the supernatural. Modern sightings. The Norfolk Coast Encounter, 2016. In October 2016, a retired schoolteacher named Margaret Whitaker reported a chilling encounter near the Norfolk coast. Margaret, an avid birdwatcher, was walking along a quiet trail at dusk when she noticed an unusual silence settling over the area. The usual calls of seabirds and rustling grass had ceased entirely. Margaret recounted the experience in a letter to the local newspaper, the Norfolk Echo. "I felt as though something was watching me, though I couldn't see anything at first. Then, as I turned a corner, there it was, a massive black dog standing on the path ahead. Its eyes glowed a deep red, and I swear, it didn't make a sound." Margaret claimed the creature stared at her for what felt like an eternity before it silently turned and disappeared into the fog. Shaken, she hurried back to her car. That night, she experienced vivid nightmares and awoke to find deep scratches on the side of her car, though she could not recall any nearby branches or obstacles that could have caused them. The story was later picked up by the Norfolk Echo, where several readers claimed to have had similar experiences along the same trail. The sighting reignited local interest in the Black Shuck legend, with many wondering if the spectral hound still roams the countryside. The Dis Road Phantom, 2003. In the summer of 2003, a delivery driver named Paul Henderson had an unsettling encounter while traveling on a deserted road outside Dis, a market town in Norfolk. Paul was returning home late at night after a long shift when his van's headlights caught the outline of a large animal standing in the middle of the road. As he approached, he realized it was a massive black dog, its eyes glowing faintly in the dark. Paul described the creature in a letter published in the Eastern Daily Press. It was the size of a small horse, with fur so black it seemed to absorb the light. Its eyes were the most unnatural thing I've ever seen, like two coals glowing in the dark. Convinced the animal would move, Paul slowed the van but refused to stop. As he edged closer, the dog did not budge. Suddenly, as Paul reached within a few meters of the animal, it vanished. One moment it was there, and the next it was gone, Paul wrote. When he reached home, he noticed deep scratches running along the side of his van, as though the hound had brushed against it in its disappearance. Shaken, Paul shared his story with co-workers, only to learn that several others had reported seeing a black dog on the same stretch of road. The article in the Eastern Daily Press sparked renewed interest in the legend of Black Shuck, with locals dubbing the road Shuck's Lane. To this day, drivers claim to see strange shapes and glowing eyes on foggy night. The North Walsham train tracks, 2018. In 2018, a commuter named Sophie Edwards had an unsettling experience near the North Walsham train station in Norfolk. Sophie, a university student at the time, was walking home from the station after an evening class. The path she took crossed an old stretch of train tracks, surrounded by dense hedgerows and overgrown weed. As she approached the tracks, Sophie noticed a strange shape in the distance. It looked like a dog at first, she later told the North Norfolk Journal. But as I got closer, I realized it was far too large to be a normal dog. Its fur was pitch black, and its eyes glowed in a way that made me freeze. Sophie described how the creature stood motionless, staring at her, before taking a single step toward her. Panicked, she dropped her bag and ran back toward the station. When she returned with a station attendant minutes later, the creature was gone, but her bag had been shredded. Deep claw marks gouged the leather, and a faint, sulfur-like smell lingered in the air. The sighting prompted an article in the North Norfolk Journal, where several locals came forward to share similar experiences near the tracks. One elderly resident claimed that the area was cursed, referencing old tales of Black Shuck appearing near railway lines during stormy weather. The symbolism of Black Shuck. Black Shuck's enduring presence in British folklore is deeply tied to its symbolism as both a harbinger of doom and a protector. For centuries, its image has represented the fine line between life and death, the natural and the supernatural. In many stories, Black Shuck is an omen of tragedy, appearing just before death strikes. Its glowing eyes and silent movements evoke a sense of inevitability, as though it embodies fate itself. The association with storms and graveyards strengthens its connection to forces beyond human control, reminding people of nature's power and the fragility of life. However, not all interpretations of Black Shuck are sinister. In some tales, the Hound is portrayed as a guardian spirit, guiding lost travelers or protecting them from harm. These stories suggest that Black Shuck is not inherently malevolent but rather a force that maintains balance, appearing when the boundary between the living and the dead is at its thinnest. The duality of Black Shuck mirrors the complexity of human fears and belief. It serves as a warning to respect the unknown while also offering a glimmer of hope in the darkest of times. This dual role has cemented Black Shuck's place as a powerful and enigmatic figure in the cultural imagination of Britain. Would you dare to meet Black Shuck? For those intrigued by the legend of Black Shuck, seeking an encounter with the spectral hound is no small feat. The creature is said to roam the desolate roads and coastal paths of East Anglia, appearing at dusk or during violent storms. Some believe leaving offerings, such as bread or salt, at crossroads or near churchyards can attract its attention, though locals warn against such actions. If you do encounter Black Shuck, beware its piercing gaze. Some accounts claim looking directly into its glowing eyes seals your fate, marking you for tragedy. Others suggest that showing no fear and averting your gaze may be the only way to escape unharmed. But one thing is certain: Once Black Shuck has appeared, your life will never be the same. Would you take the risk? Or is it wiser to leave this phantom hound to the mists of legend, where it continues to haunt the imagination of those who dare to walk the lonely roads of East Anglia?